Hello, everybody, and welcome to the afternoon tune. I'm your host, Josh, and with me are my two special guest hosts today, Sage and Tim, both from Rated M for Immaturity channel there. These guys have been on plenty of times before, especially Sage usually comes on Mondays, Wednesdays. They're reviewing a lot of anime, video game reviews there, video game news, discussing that as well with me. Glad to have you guys on with me today. Very much a pleasure, and we got a good just kind of one review, then a little bit of news. And we're gonna be heading out here pretty soon. And of course, rating somebody after this, as always, as we do. If you guys have any suggestions, Sage or Tim, please let me know. I'll go ahead and rate somebody after this. But I see some people on I could raid here. Mini Portable's on right now, watching that Raw. It's Monday night there. Also, Yadira's on playing Fortnite. I see some other people on right now that go ahead and raid. Don't see anybody playing that Marvel vs. Capcom 2 fighting game collection. I don't see anybody playing that.
I mean, it's such a retro game. Like, I'm sure people are, but I mean, it's not like it wasn't available until now. It might not have been easy to get a hold of, but yeah.
Okay. That could be true there. Maybe it is kind of a throwback game there. So it could be, yeah, like I said, hard for people to, yeah, newer people to get into it. Maybe it's just for the old people like us there that are this
Got better
interested.
graphics than 3 or 4, though. I'm just saying.
Uh, but Sage, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. What you got going on? What you got coming up next? All that good stuff.
Yeah. You can find us over at Rated M for Maturity on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all under that same exact name. Tomorrow we'll be continuing with Signalis. It's a nice little indie horror game. We've finally done playing Gollum. Thank God. Moving on to better things. And then after that, we should be doing, I think, was Baldur's Gate 3 Friday, Tim? That's your territory there.
That is actually going to be this Thursday at 7:30
Okay.
rather than this Friday.
Awesome. Awesome. Move it up one day then. And then Saturday night should be me and Tim, and we'll be playing Will Long Fallen Dynasty. Uh Usually got about those three shows each week, 2:30, 7:30, and usually 10:30 on Saturdays. Sometimes we have occasional special shows in between those things. We might start having some of those in the near future. I think we just picked up Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown from earlier this year. And so I think I've got someone that's going to start running through that with me.
Very nice. And this is your channel right here. Let me show it. All right. So this is your videos right here. Oh, did you unlist the videos or?
No, it shouldn't be.
Oh,
Maybe we just haven't done quite as many in a row the last week or two.
oh, okay. So, but you got Gollum is up here right here. Um, yeah, the whole crew sitting there playing Gollum.
Yeah,
Um,
everybody had to be there for that one. That
must.
game, it was an interesting finale, to say the least.
So you guys get there, and you guys are also on YouTube as well. You
Yeah.
guys are there. People want to check it out. Let me show your YouTube channel as well there. Putting up, if you guys can't catch the streams live, you can always watch the streams they put on YouTube there. All the full streams of them playing the games, plenty of different games that they all play. The guys there. Um,
Tons of variety. That's one we like to keep it up with as many different genres as possible. Short games, long games, RPGs, action, all sorts of stuff.
and this is your YouTube right here. That you guys put up. Games like Black Myth Wukong, games like Wulong Fallen Dynasty there. Yeah, Samurai Jack video games. So a lot of different video games there that people can watch you all play and enjoy there on your streams. Very nice there. And thank you for being able to join me on this night here, this good old late night. Yeah, very, very nice there. Tim, anything you wanted to add at all?
Just that I've been told for fans of video game pods that we are excellent at helping people fall asleep. Whether they stay asleep, I can't attest to, but if you've got insomniac friends, tell them to go to rated M with for immaturity.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, good voices to fall asleep to. That's always good to hear. I would say. So yeah, yeah, very nice. But we got a lot of good stuff to review. Like I said, Shattered Earth Tree, Tim, and a little bit of Sage is going to do that. Also, Dan the Don, is that it? Yeah,
Yeah, Don. Yeah,
Dan
I
for
think that's
short.
the. Yeah. I'm sure. DDD. I don't know. I'm sure once the show's like fully kicking in and airing, we'll get some sort of shorthand way to refer to it that the internet will develop.
So yeah, Sage, he saw the first 3 episodes in theater, so he's gonna be giving his review of that, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, thank you guys for there. Maybe we'll do a stream Wednesday there, Terminator, do a review for that, 1984, since it is its 40th year anniversary there. Also, I can put up some more stuff for the poll there as well, since October is gonna be coming up pretty soon. Yeah, I mean, yeah, where all this time has gone already. It is already
I
about to come
know.
into October there. Yeah, so maybe we'll do that. Put up some more poll stuff there for more movies, horror stuff that we can do anime wise there as well. Friday, I do have a stream there coming up with Nick. We're gonna be doing the Killers game, the new Dave Bautista film. Also gonna be doing a review for Transformers One, the new animated Transformers film. What else is coming out? Also, there's a movie called The Substance, which I'm excited to see if I can watch that. It's a movie with Margaret Qualley in it and Demi Moore. And that looks really good. So hopefully I can see that by Friday. Saturday, I don't have anything planned as of yet. And Sunday, I don't have anything planned as of yet. So yeah, maybe I'll use that time to catch up with a lot of these things there that I've been lacking on. So maybe I'll use that time for that. But yeah, good stuff there. Yeah, and the next kind of big stuff there. I know this weekend, the Penguin show comes out and Agatha comes out. So I
I'm really
don't.
interested in one of those.
I can't wait to guess which one that you're interested in the most there.
I'll give you three tracks.
But so yeah, both those shows come. I don't know if they're dropping dropping like some of the episodes first, like the first 3 or 4, and then they're gonna release some later. I don't know if they're doing that with
I'm
Agatha or
pretty sure Penguin is just one a week.
okay, just 1 a week. Yeah, so they're doing that with that. And for news, not really a whole lot of news this week there wise, video game wise. Just gonna discuss a little stuff with Matt Reeves, Batman, he's all about I want to make Batman as grounded as possible, not too fantastical. He says that with there, and we already kind of saw that already with Cape Crusader. We already kind of wish we did a review for me and Sage there. Have you seen that, Tim?
I have not, but I believe you me, Sage has made sure I've heard all about it.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, Batman characters. Are you tired of Batman at all, Tim?
You know, originally, a few years ago, I would have said yeah, but honestly, I've come to appreciate like the Batman animated one. If it is as is, it's been pitched to me by Sage. Then it is like indicative that Batman can be done in both new and familiar ways in a way that works and is entertaining to people that have both watched and haven't watched Batman. And that to me says that there's more to adapt there. There's more Batman at stake. But
Mm,
as someone who's not super into DC, a little,
okay. You're more of a Marvel guy?
yeah, I'm more familiar with Marvel. It's what I grew up on.
Okay.
I'd
So you
say it
grew up
would be really tired to be sick of any of the DC stuff when Zack Snyder was in charge of heading the universe.
That's very true. I am looking forward to James Gunn's touch on the universe because he's done some pretty good work so far and already leagues better than what his predecessor was capable of.
mm. So we'll see. And when is James I think his show is supposed to be coming out pretty soon. The
Creature
creature
Commanders.
I think that's supposed to be coming out.
It's December. I don't think it has an exact date yet, but I do believe it's December.
Okay. I don't even see it really. Oh yeah. So yeah, December 5th. of this
December
year,
5th. Okay,
and
nice.
will
Early December.
conclude next year, January 16th. Okay.
Cool.
So he does have that coming up. So we'll see there with that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. I'll let Tim go ahead here with his review. Go ahead, get that there. Started. And go ahead. So, Tim, is going to be giving us a review for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree there, this new DLC expansion for Elden Ring. Tim, take it away, man.
Well, there were pretty high expectations going into the DLC because FromSoft had indicated that this was going to be a one and done deal with the DLC, and they didn't want to just give us piecemeal delivery so that they could tell a cohesive story and create an overall grand product. I would say they delivered on that. I would say ultimately, just out of the gate, I will say that I thoroughly enjoyed it. I got at least 60 hours of gameplay out of the expansion, and I
That's a
tried
lot for DLC.
if for a DLC, for a $45 DLC, I was actually saying, "Wow, I can't believe this wasn't more," because I would have paid at least 45 in DLC for any other game and gotten half as much, and half as much in quality because goddamn, visually you see the cinematics coming out, and we have it pulled up here that it paints this kind of abstract story of uh, area being besieged, and you're at starting the expansion, kind of wondering, okay, well, where's this city that was burned to the ground? And it's a very good while into the game, like 10 hours into the DLC, where it's kind of made like, oh shit, this massive graveyard that I've been wandering through, that this entire zone is kind of a graveyard of this battlefield. It's what remains after the flames died down. And the beasts that you see, like the lion-headed beasts, they've all since been slain. All of the that remains is the occupiers of this long decimated battle. And it's given to you with more of FromSoft's superb environmental storytelling, uh, which, if you're really just looking for something that is more, can I kill this? Can I go here? Can I loot this? I don't really care about story. This works for you. You'll be confused if you ever decide to pay attention, but then again, so are the people paying attention. Uh, One of the frustrating things this game does is it is perhaps even more obfuscated in terms of certain lore elements that are teased in more substantial amount in the base game. You think that you're going to get answers with the DLC, and you're really left just asking different questions. Which in itself isn't bad. I think that's one of the things FromSoft games tend to do is they tend to provoke thought both on moral and ethical topics, but just and also the idea of like what it means to age, to die, to grow as a person, to try to break the mold you were cast in. And those are all narrative elements I think that are present throughout this DLC, as we follow one of the few plot threads that is coherent is that of Mikola the Kindly Mikola, a god that was teased in the earlier stages of uh, the game, or you're going through the base game, and occasionally you'll see a statue of this small child being embraced by a boss that everyone has grown to know as the most difficult boss. And so, based on her notoriety and her proximity to Mikola, he was really kind of hyped up to be this kind of great figure. He held domain over the realm of dreams. He held domain over love, over affection of all sort. He held domain over nascency, the concept of beginnings, which is an incredibly powerful domain that we see kind of affect all of his plans throughout the realms or the lands between that we have encountered over time. For instance, the base game sees him try to cure his sister of her rot, fails at that. just kind of abandons it. It dies in its nascency, the plan. Tries to save his brother. That plan also dies in nascency. And here we see him on the path to ascension, casting aside portions of himself so that he may be pure enough to ascend to godhood and divinity. Uh, One of the things that is shown in the trailer is Marika, the god of the lands between as it is now, mother of Mikola and all of the demigods we've encountered thus far. We actually get to see her homeland. And we get to see this beautiful landscape that changes so much topographically. Sage, I'm sure you kind of remember how vertical Elden Ring kind of became as you get into like Altus Plateau or even the mountaintop of giants.
Oh
It's
yeah, there's I mean, these areas are just they're huge. There's so much packed in them. There's so many. I mean, if I wasn't playing it with Tim, I wouldn't have noticed so many of the things that there were to find in these games.
and I would say the verticality is dialed up to 11 here, maybe even 12, because there is
Take that, this is Spinal Tap.
yeah, it's slower, or it's like rather the world is like more condensed. They said it was going to be the size of Limgrave. That lie detector test determined that was a lie. It was about half the size of the existing continent. They added about roughly 50% more overworld. Um, and you would think it would be kind of difficult to give 4 visually compelling zones. And you're right, because they did 5. Uh, and arguably there's subzones within those zones where like there is this area like that deals with the frenzied flame. And rather than being an area that is completely suffused in flame, we just get this quiet, burnt out husk of a forest where no life remains but that of ones touched by the frenzied flame. And it's this viscerally creepy forest that as you're coming upon it, Torrent abandons you. Oh, hey, we got you, BFG. Hi.
Yeah.
We are kind of pulled into this little sense of cosmic horror as your mount abandons you, as your spirits abandon you, because it is revealed that this flame is the only thing that can harm spirits. And they come up with more answers, I think, to the base game than I really even kind of anticipated. They answered questions that a lot of people weren't really left with, or they kind of present ideas that just weren't at all present in like those ghost worms right there. Those ghost worms, no one knows what those are. Not a damn person knows what they are. Are they cool? Yeah. What the fuck are they? No clue. Do they have any existing lore? You bet your bottom dollar there isn't. But they appear in the graveyards in this area, and it follows the same indication of other blue spirits that share that same coloration and that same tendency to glow red when they're angered. The jellyfish spirits that we see in the core game. And it's throughout the journey of this area, you're presented with a lot of things that seem disparately, loosely connected. But they all thematically tend to jive together rather well. You get these people that are following Mikola the Kind, and they say only the kindest words about him. But they've kind of been MK Ultra'd into loving this god. And halfway through the game, or the DLC, you get this little message that says, a great rune has been shattered. Now, the great runes are the things that you've been collecting this entire time. None of them have been broken to this point. And you've been following Mikola, who's been casting off pieces of himself. You come to find this wild idea that this god that has been posed as good the entire time might not be what you think it is. And it all just kind of unravels from there. It's George R. Martin. We were playing some of that beforehand, and oh my god, yeah, the incest is present. like, wow,
That's
I
how you
was,
know he was involved.
yeah, the idea that it's like yeah, but the right there, you get like remember the dragon god that's missing heads. You get to fight the thing that managed to kill the dragon god, and you get to see the reason for all of these things. And I really think, despite the lack of narrative elements that are in some traditional video games, or most traditional video games, I think it really lands a well-written story that kind of leaves you like angry. It leaves you feeling not content. Like you expect bad things to happen, but you find yourself hoping against hope that some of these characters are going to have a good fucking time of it. And so it's really kind of interesting how that all plays out, how the gameplay plays out, because they've managed to create these systems in place where no matter how strong you were before, you are still getting slapped around like a rag doll. People were mad, so mad at how hard this DLC was when it first came out. And you can really tell that by the metrics in like the
No,
trophies
who was the
for which
casual
bosses
players?
were completed. And yeah, it's like a lot of people encounter the first boss, didn't realize they were supposed to collect a reagent that is scattered all around the map and linked to various things that don't really have any seeming connection. And there's like 50 of them, and you have to get 50 of them to get upgraded to like plus 20 or whatever. And you don't start really being survivable until plus 10. Balance was something that was like not strictly communicated at the beginning, and it was actually they had to hot fix quite a few things over the first initial couple weeks because they didn't quite test these things, run the numbers well. And it's kind of disappointing that something so grand in scale could fall flat in terms of these metrics that they had 2 years of player data on what is working and what isn't, and what numbers are doing what, like what patterns in player behavior are. And the lack of foresight is a little disappointing because it's like without that polish, or with that polish, it would have been an otherwise perfect game. You see, Promised Consort Radahn is a neat thing because Mikola brings his half brother back to life using the body of Moog, who is the portal of the other. You, he got kidnapped while he was in that cocoon, right? Turns out he mind controlled the guy who kidnapped him so that when he emerged from the cocoon, he could use the guy as a blood sacrifice to open a portal up to the Shadow Realm. And the Shadow Realm is just the center of the continent that you are on, which has been shrouded in veil because that was the god of this land's homeland. And she burned the entire area to the ground. And she committed such horrifying war crimes that she, rather than try to like cover it, she covered it up in covering the physical land up from being accessible by any means other than magic, and wiped the minds of everyone in the lands between of its existence.
That's just the backstory of like one boss, basically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's a yeah, like there's what 40, 50 bosses in this DLC. They add 3 new weapon types, they add a bunch of new spells, they add so much.
Martial arts, right? Like you can like do hand to hand now.
Yeah, they add martial arts. They I have yet to see a video game DLC that was this robust and that made this many improvements to this many systems, or visual or gameplay wise. And the level of dedication that they showed on it, I was like, I'm genuinely impressed in that, like, starting from like Demon Souls 2008, that they've gone from a company capable of that to this. Uh, so it's definitely kind of a really it's something that I recommend, I guess, to everyone who's even interested in playing Elden Ring, which is like, is the DLC worth it? 100% worth it. It's nothing but an improvement.
Mhm.
Okay.
So you
If I
didn't
could
get.
throw,
Oh,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry. I
Uh,
was just going to say if I could throw one question at Tim. We talk about anime a lot. me and Josh. So I was curious, the like anime inspiration here. This company's always been inspired by like Berserk, most notably, and it had kind of an anime influence. And I've heard, I feel like that this DLC is maybe like the most intensely that you can tell that they're kind of been inspired by anime like Berserk, manga like Berserk, and stuff like that. Is that a correct read on that?
So yes, and I think the most glaring example of that is uh Mikola, and how closely his trajectory, at least up to a certain point, mirrors that of Griffith in the Berserk manga or anime, and his descent into the cocoon is the lead is followed. He gains so many people around him. He gains this massive following of people willing to die for him. And you even come across this character who tried to go up against him, tried to kill him, and he felt his heart weaken. And then he's like, fine, yeah, no, I can't kill you. Instead, I'm just going to serve you for the rest of my life and be fine with it. Because
Definitely
he,
wearing inspiration on its sleeve for sure.
yeah, and the blood eclipse, there's so many different elements of Griffith's character that are shown in Mikola, to the point where on the Elden Ring subreddit, it's almost like a faux pas to bring it up, because it's like everyone just kind of knows. It's one of the most obvious inspirations that can be drawn from the DLC.
Cool, cool.
I was gonna ask. So, do you think this is a clear front runner for best DLC of 2024? Or
I, as someone who hasn't played every DLC, and I know the Alan Wake DLC is coming out, uh, but so far, I would say yes. Uh, it's probably honestly the most robust DLC I've played in terms of sheer content of significant quality in at least 2020s.
I'm very excited for the Alan Wake DLC coming out in October, but like as you know, if you've heard my review for that, you know it's like one of my favorite of all time. But that 3 hours is not going to compare to like the 60-hour Elden Ring DLC. Even if it's the second best of the year, it's not. It's definitely not going to be as good as you know, engaging and just big in terms of content size.
um, some other big DLC um that has come out or already has come out. So there's, of course, we already brought up Alan Wake 2, Night Springs, and the Lake House there. Sage, you did Night Springs, right? We already did review
Yeah, yeah.
that.
Night Springs came out in was it June or yeah, June I want to say, and then the Lake House DLC will be coming out sometime in October. We don't have an exact date yet for it.
Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred is also here. Destiny 2, The Final Shape, is also there as well. There also Final Fantasy is going to be having a new DLC that's going to
Oh,
be
okay.
coming.
Is that 16?
Yes. Dawn Trail. Yeah.
Okay. I have not played the DLC for that one myself yet, but I've heard good things for sure.
Yeah. This came out in July 2nd,
Okay.
there for that one. Um, yeah, yeah. So looks like this will, I guess, at the Game Awards, this will be probably the front runner for best DLC of 2024 there.
I'd
Um,
be even without playing it, I'd honestly be shocked to see anything else get it.
yeah. So you mentioned kind of the difficulty of this. A lot of people did mention with this DLC how the difficulty of the game, how very hard it is. Yeah. I mean, so do you think for people, if they, do you think it's even harder than the base game itself of Elden Ring? Do you think there, Tim?
Tim, correct me if I'm wrong
Uh,
about this, but the Elden Ring was a little easygoing in a lot of places compared to the other previous Souls games. And
yeah,
this DLC is kind of like, oh, well, if this is the first one you've played, let's knock you back to the rest of the franchise, kind of.
I would liken it to Bloodborne's kind of thing, in that it does that exact thing, which is the earlier game. Well, Bloodborne, I guess, a bit more punishing, but the core Elden Ring, if you're familiar with the series, or you have some help is very easy. And that's like not a rule, but it's about 80% of things are actually fairly easy. And then the 20% are where the difficulty lies to kind of drive you to explore the other 80%. The DLC presumes that you've already explored most of the open world to reach that point, and it holds no bars accordingly. And yeah, it's brutal. The bosses are brutal. I died as many times, I think, to the DLC bosses as I did to at least 80%, if not more, of the primary bosses from the core game. It
Uh,
is
who was the hardest boss for you?
Radon, Promised Consort Radon, easily.
I do this.
Radon,
I do see that
yeah,
listed as number one.
yeah, he's yeah, fuck that guy. I beat him pre-nerf, so I get to gloat, but fuck that guy. Yeah, he was
They
bad enough that they
actually
actually had to nerf
nerfed him
him
in a
because that was,
massive
and he got nerfed in the core game too, like a couple weeks after it launched, because he was a boss in the core game too with just gravity magic. And now he has gravity magic and a god strapped to his back, fueling like magic fucking laser beam powers. And it's like, it's a lot. He has 2 health bars because fuck you, why not?
of course.
You said 60 hours of content, correct? 60 hours.
Yeah, at least if you go for like 100% or close to 100% of what you can, yeah, you'll end up at about 60 hours. Some people can get through in about 20 if you're following a guide, maybe even a bit quicker, but uh, it's a pretty meaty one.
Okay. And you 100% it?
I did. I did not stick around to try to like farm like random drops that have like a 5% chance, but everything that is lootable, I do. I looted.
Mm. So, what would be your final thoughts and rating for Elden Ring: Shadow of the Earth Tree?
I'm gonna say pure cinema. This is this is honestly one of my favorite things I've played in a while. And it was one of those few things I've finished that has left me just like, wow, I I can't wait to experience this kind of feeling again. Because there are those few games that you just truly enjoy playing and enjoy unraveling the mystery in. And Alan Wake is one of those games. Uh, and I think this game is one of those games, especially with the DLC. So getting both of those in the same year, that's just great.
60 hours. Yeah, it's basically a whole new game, right there. Yeah, I mean, that's hell. That's longer than some other games there,
That's
basically.
longer than
Probably most
most
games.
games that have come out in 2024.
Yeah. How
Even
long
some
is
other good ones, but
how long is Wukong? Wukong is what? How long?
well, one playthrough for Wukong took me like I want to say like 47, 48 hours maybe, but then going back and doing New Game Plus and like 100%ing it and making sure I got everything, I want to say I was like maybe it was 60 for the first playthrough and then like 90 for the 100%. Something like that though.
Okay, yeah. So a meaty DLC there for this. So yeah, clear front runner for game at the Game Awards for best DLC of 2024. Looks like a really great expansion for Elden Ring there, and Tim gave it a this is cinema for it. So high praise for the expansion. So yeah, thank you, Tim, for your review of Elden Ring: Shadow of the Earth Tree. There, thank you. Yeah. So move on here to another review. All Sage. He's going to be giving his review here. Go ahead and pull up my notes for this one. Pull up my trailers here. So this showed in theaters, huh? I didn't. I don't think it was. This at AMC.
Yeah, I saw it at AMC. It was
Okay.
literally one
Hmm.
showing on one day, and that's all that I was able to
Uh,
see.
Okay. So yeah, that's probably why I missed it. Yeah.
I
And so this
stumbled onto it too. It was literally like I didn't even realize it was playing, and I just was on the off chance that there was something interesting. I thought, let me check the movies today, and just happened to be there.
All right. So, Sage, you're gonna give us a review of the first 3 episodes of Dan to Don, Dan to Dan, I guess is what the name is.
Until
Uh,
I get corrected, either of those is right.
okay, sure. Take it away.
Well, this is an interesting one. Uh, very much hmm, the sort of genre fusion thing that I'm generally a big fan of when you see a few different things kind of get meshed together. I think you described this as a rom-com action shonen slash horror story. It's kind of all those things mixed together. So you got two characters. You got Momo and Ken, and they're I don't think they say exactly what grade, but they're a bit of a typical anime character, school age, right? And they kind of meet up, both having a kind of a hard time, a little bit feeling a little social outcasts with both of them, and they get into this argument over aliens and ghosts. And one of them is like, "Oh, aliens are totally legit, but ghosts are BS," and the other one's saying the opposite. And so they challenge each other. Oh, well, you go to this ghost haunting spot. I'll go to the spot that UFOs supposedly show up a lot. And they both think the other is just kind of full of crap. And then both of them end up getting attacked by the other thing. Um, Now, bear in mind, it might sound like I'm making some of this up because this gets wacky. But the boy, Ken, gets attacked by a spirit, a ghost, very demonic entity called the Turbo Granny. And what does the Turbo Granny want? Well, she wants his penis. She steals his penis. And they have to go on a shonen battle action journey to get his penis back, while fighting not only aliens and ghosts, but also cryptids. So, like things like Nessie or Bigfoot. Um, Again, it might just sound like I'm just making stuff up or having a stroke here, but I swear this is the plot of the story. Um, it is just the beginning here. And there you go. That's the Turbo Granny right there. The aliens, you know what they're kind of after. They're kind of after their reproductive organs as well. Um, but you end up with something that is it's kind of acknowledging itself as being very silly. It's leaning into the humor, and it's got very good chemistry between these two main characters. Like to the point where I didn't even think about it while I was watching it, but when I'm walking out, I'm like, oh, almost that entire 3 episodes was just these two characters talking to each other. And there's all actually very, very little dialogue or interaction from anybody else, and I felt engaged by the chemistry here kind of the whole time. Um, this is definitely going to be on the side of stuff like maybe Chainsaw Man, where if you haven't seen anime before, this is not going to be the first thing I'm going to recommend going and watching because I think it is just so weird and it's so out there. But unlike Chainsaw Man, and this might sound counterintuitive to how I've described it, this isn't actually that gross. And I know based on some of the things I've said, that might seem surprising, but it maintains this kind of sense of humor, and it never gets super, super dark. There's some very very creative and well done kind of horror, kind of maybe body horror imagery going on at times with some of the monsters, but it's never too dark. Like this is actually a pretty breezy in tone thing to watch. It's actually it's very funny most of the time. Um, but yeah, I mean, you end up with this production, I think, that is very it's very unique. It feels special, I think, among the landscape of anime. I will sing praises of the studio Science Saru kind of any chance I get. They have done a few of my favorite recent anime in the last 5 or so years. Devilman Crybaby in 2018, Inuo, which is a movie in 2021. They just recently announced they're going to be doing a new adaptation of Ghost in the Shell in like late 2026. And this is, I think, another, at least based on these first 3 episodes, another knockout from this studio. Uh, I recommend trying to support them. I really do. Give this your time, especially because as an anime studio, and we've talked about on the show a few times, the the workloads that these animators are put under, just how kind of overworked and sick they get from these jobs for these tiny time frames to work on these things. And Science Saru is at least as far as I'm aware, it's the only big animation studio in Japan that gives its animators time and actually advocates in the industry for taking time and not overworking your employees at these companies. So I also think that's just another nice thing about it. Like whether, totally outside the quality of the show itself, um, it's just a nice studio to feel like, hey, no one was like suffering to make this, at least not to the same degree that a lot of the rest of the stuff in this industry is.
No
Yeah, I think
animators were harmed in the making of this?
yeah, no animators were harmed in the making of this production. Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely I give this a high recommendation. I mean, it's only the first 3 episodes, so you really mostly spend time getting a beat on the chemistry between these two main characters. You get kind of one big ghost action set piece. You get actually no, two ghost action set pieces, and you get one big alien action set piece. And then the third character that you do get to spend a little bit of time with, get introduced. In the trailer you see quite a few other characters that you don't really get introduced to yet in what I saw. But Momo, the girl in the footage there, her grandmother, uh, Seiko, is kind of the other biggest character introduced. She's a spirit medium, and well, I just prepare yourselves come like October, November, because the internet's going to be thirsting over this grandma, and I'm just giving everybody a fair warning right now. It's going to happen. It's just inevitable at this point. Um, but likable, totally likable character. She is the kind of mentor that gets introduced here. She's a spirit medium that comes in, and I love, it kind of comes into the comedy. Yeah, see, I mean, people, the internet is going to internet with this. I'm sure fans of the manga, if you go browse like places like subreddits and wherever people are discussing the manga, people are already probably thirsty over this grandma. Um,
I think in the next, Spider-Man, this is how Aunt May's gonna look right here. I think yeah.
yeah. I mean, hey, you can see Marissa Tomei dressing like that, right?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed this. From a production standpoint, it is some of the most high quality I've seen in a while. Like I said, Science Saru is a studio that gives its animators time to do their work. The stuff isn't rushed out the door with them like it is for like, take Jujutsu Kaisen season 2, for example. As amazing as it looks, and it does look amazing, those animators were practically killing themselves to make that happen and to meet those deadlines. And so it's nice to see something that you know for sure that that's not happening with. You end up with a really high quality production because of it. There's only a little bit of 3D in this. It seems like it's almost all 2D animated, which, sometimes that can feel a little rare today, where it's pure 2D all the time. The art style's great. It just feels very fleshed out. There's never like almost every anime I watch, I notice a moment or two where the quality of the animation will drop during a dialogue scene because, hey, we're saving budget for our action scenes. We only have so much time to make this. Here you get like as good of animation during scenes of dialogue as you do during scenes of action. So that felt really special, and that makes the production, I think, stand out quite a bit. And also just some wild looking imagery and use of color. There's even a whole sequence in the second episode, like a long, maybe half the episode, that is just black and white, kind of almost pulling like the Sin City type thing. Which is really cool because I guess I don't feel like you see, other than say the like Uzumaki coming up soon. I don't feel like you get that black and white look too often in anime, so that was also really cool. Um, yeah, yeah. As far as I am concerned, it's a really solid start. I can't wait to see where it goes next.
Okay. And this is gonna be premiering on Netflix October 4th. Is when it's gonna be showing there. It's gonna be available on Crunchyroll, Netflix there streaming. Tim, does this look interesting to you? Is this something like you would check out there?
I was already interested based off the trailers, but based off of uh, where it seems to be going and the indicated quality, that's I think something I'm going to be checking out for sure.
Okay, so let me see how somebody says it. Let me see, because I'm curious now how somebody says. Let me look if this guy pronounces it. Let's see if he does.
Just had the chance to see the first 3 episodes of Dawn to Dawn early.
Okay, so it's Don da Don. Okay, so
Done to done. All right.
okay, so at least going
I
by
didn't
this
want to claim to know because I wasn't sure.
Don da. At least that's what that guy says. So blame him if we get it wrong. Blame him. That's what we're doing. Yeah, okay. So, this is coming out. So, and then you mentioned Science Saru there. They got founded in 2013 in February, and they've done projects such as Star Wars Visions. They did two short films for that anthology project. They also did Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, which came out last year, which we reviewed. I was a big fan of that. Um, and the studio has received great critical acclaim both within Japan and internationally. There for it, and they have 50 employees. Apparently, just 50 employees.
Which is a small team for an anime studio. I mean, stuff like Mappa has like teams of hundreds of people,
Yeah,
and are rushing the work out the door at the same time.
okay. And question. So I'm seeing in these trailers, like I guess it's the Ken character there. Like he turns into some kind of monster or something.
Yeah, that's right off the bat, right in the beginning, when he goes to, he's the one that doesn't believe in ghosts, but totally believes in aliens. So he goes to this tunnel that's supposedly haunted by a spirit, a ghost called the Turbo Granny. And he very quickly is confronted by this creature. It curses him. The effect of the curse being that, well, two things. One, his penis is gone. He's got to go fight ghosts to get his penis back. The second thing is that he is
So is this
still
the Ghost
taken.
Granny right here? This the Turbo Granny?
Uh, yes,
Okay.
yeah. Actually, no, that is from further in the show. Actually, I have not. That does not appear in the first 3 episodes. Those shots there,
Okay.
but he does now. What he's able to do is Momo, the other character, the one who totally believes in ghosts but not aliens until she gets abducted and attacked by them during this challenge that they give to each other. Her grandma, the resident gilf, as it were, is a spirit medium, and she, the Momo, has like some latent psychic abilities, and so as a pair, she's able to kind of quell the possession of Ken, and
So
so
this is the
he,
possessed form right here?
yeah, so he's like that's like a half step. So like when he's fully possessed, he just like turns into the Turbo Granny ghost or demon or whatever. And but with Momo's presence, she's able to kind of suppress the spirit's instincts, and then that's how you get your kind of he's in control of using the curse like a superpower for temporary periods of time. And that's how you start to get some of the crazy like action scenes and stuff that you're seeing in the trailer. How long that curse is going to be in effect, if that's something that's like a series running thing, or if they will resolve that within like maybe episode 4 or 5, and then we'll move on to something new. That I'm not entirely sure of. He's still got that curse attached to him by the end of the first 3 episodes. And they're just kind of starting to formulate a plan to go deal with this Turbo Granny ghost. Um, but yeah, so they definitely like yeah they are given superpowers very much so almost right away within that first episode they have powers of some kind, so it definitely has that shonen element. I mean, I'll also just throw it out there too, like one of the most fun things about it is just how it's been able to switch tone and style very very fast. It goes from like kind of freaky looking almost horror in moments, right into full on like rom com type stuff. And it never feels like it never feels like whiplash with it. Like it always feels like a very naturally flowing thing, even though it is in theory would be so all over the place and like, oh, what is this doing? It doesn't know what it wants to be. But somehow they make it work. They tie the things together, and I think that most of the first episode they really do endear you to these two characters. Like if you're gonna have a rom-com thing element, I better care about these two characters. They better be interesting to watch and listen to and interact with their chemistry. And I think they nail it right off the bat.
Yeah, and this is your first experience with an anime like this? You don't watch really romance animes or,
No, not really. But at the same time, it's such a mixture of things. So like but it's also a battle shonen. And then it's also horror. And then it's also like sci-fi. Like it never sticks just to one thing for a super long amount of time. So like it's totally like got a rom-com thing and it's like totally accurate to describe it that way. But it just changes and morphs and flows so fast and so well that yeah, I mean even maybe for it romance not being like a genre that is super interesting to me most of the time, I think like here's how to do it to get me interested.
mm, yeah. Alright, we'll be checking this out. How many episodes is supposed to be in the first season? Do you know?
So I believe this is going to be two core. So I believe it's going to be 24 episodes. So
Oh,
this will start on October 4th. I won't have a new episode to watch until almost November, and then I don't expect the season to be over until like spring next year. So this will be on for a bit of time.
yeah. How many years? So they released it on Netflix right away. Are they doing like half? They're breaking it up half there, or then?
Oh, possibly. Yeah, it's possible that they'll release it in chunks. I thought it was just going to be like a one at a time thing, but Netflix usually does batches when they get the rights to anime. So I guess I'm not entirely sure about that.
Mm, okay. Yeah. Alright, will be this is on the radar there, for something we'll be checking out. So, what will be your rating there for these kinda early few episodes there if you wanted to give it one?
Yeah, just for these first three episodes, I'd give it. I I'm gonna give it a really, really high tune in. And it's not even because I have a bunch of criticisms to throw at it that would pull it down to that from a higher rating like a peak. But mostly just because I know it's just the beginning and I want to give it time to develop and see where it goes and how it lands these things. I've heard a lot of good things about the manga. It's I think a couple hundred chapters in at this point. It's been running for a couple of years, and I see it in like the top 10 selling manga alongside stuff like One Piece or Attack on Titan for a little while there or JJK. So like I know that it's very well liked, and yeah, I only want to be cautious about that rating just because I do feel like it's got so much room to get so much crazier as it goes. And I don't want to, yeah, I don't want to be like, oh, this is like the best because I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more from this as it goes along.
Mm, okay. Possibly what, best new anime of the year for you? Maybe?
Um,
Best eh,
I'm trying to think what else has premiered this year, but
I know
yeah,
there was that, ninja show that's out, Ninja
I haven't watched that one to be fair yet. Although based on what I've heard, it goes off the rails by the time it's over. Um,
Terminator Zero.
Terminator Zero. I do think I like this more. I do think I like this more than Terminator. Um, yeah, I'm
Uh,
trying to think of what else brand new is released in this year. But right
Rick and Morty
now,
anime.
based on I haven't even watched that. I'll be honest, the animation does not look very good. Um, but at least as of right now, yeah, I'd say this is probably my favorite like new anime series so far this year.
Hmm, okay. Awesome stuff there. So yeah, Sage for Dandadan gives it a high tune in there. Very nice. Um, all right. Got a little bit of news. Then we're gonna be heading out of here. Still the same people on. Meanie Portable's on. Gina Darling is on there. Usually she plays Alan Wake 2. She's trying to beat that right now.
Hey, I like
Uh,
it.
so yeah, maybe we'll give her a rate there. Very
I
nice.
was curious to ask you too, Josh. How far into the current arc of Hunter x Hunter are you?
So I'm halfway. So I did like 30 episodes. I watched. I crammed that. Yeah. So I got to cram the rest of it.
Godspeed.
Yeah, my
uh,
sympathies.
yeah, so I got to watch all, and then I got to get in these movies. Got to watch Killer's Game. Got to watch Substance. There, got to watch that all before Friday. Yeah. All right, so news. There is the only little bit of news is well with the upcoming Penguin show that's going to be coming out this week. Matt Reeves has talked about the little bit of expansion of what the Batman universe is going to look like, what he wants his Batman universe to be, and what that's going to happen there. And it even was a re-release of the Batman in all kind of like to build excitement for the Penguin show, which is coming out this week there on HBO Max, or is it just Max? And yeah, you got a cool popcorn bucket
Yeah,
with it as
yeah.
well. Did you get yourself a popcorn bucket there, Tim?
No, and I feel like a fool every damn day for it.
Did you even
Yeah,
see the most recent Batman film, Tim?
I think I did.
yeah, they all start to blend together after a while, I guess. All the Batmans there.
That's
Some of
the Christian Bait Rail Bale Bateman. There we go.
yeah, yeah, they all just start to blend. Uh, Ulysses said, "If Penguin isn't romancing the Riddler, I'll be disappointed." He said there.
Yeah, if anybody didn't watch all their way through the Gotham TV series, it did part way through the third season turn into a gay romantic comedy between Penguin and the Riddler, and I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Really? Yeah,
Oh
okay.
yeah.
I stopped watching before that happened because I knew they were kind of partnering up, but I didn't know it turned that far into it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I
Oh,
mean,
they partnered up and then they partnered up.
like I was watching the show when it first came out, kind of got bored, gave up on it, thought it wasn't that interesting. And then I had someone go like, no. It got so bad that now you need to watch it. So I tuned back in and yeah, it got to be like a really bad Nicolas Cage movie, like unintentional comedy kind of thing where I honestly couldn't get enough of it. And yeah, Penguin and the Penguin Riddler romance is kind of the core components of the story at that point.
Wow. Yeah, I kind of dropped off after a little bit with Gotham there. I mean, Gotham, I guess, is fun if you look at like an Elseworlds type thing, and I guess that's kind of what the Batman kind of is as well. Like they did
Yeah,
these, I think, under a label called the DC Red Label, I think it was called, or they're calling that
I think it was Black Label.
Black Label. There, got my colors
Yeah,
mixed up. Black Label there because I think that's also what Joker is under as well, like its own separate
sure,
kind of
sure.
thing away from all the other connected stuff, like what James Gunn is doing, the whole DC connected stuff there.
For
So
sure.
in a way, I kind of like that. With the Batman, I kind of liked watching that movie. That it was its own thing, right? It wasn't like teasing another setup for a spinoff or another sequel. Like Batman didn't
But we
show. I
got a
mean,
spinoff nonetheless.
yeah. Superman didn't show up at the end and, pop up and it's like, "Do you wanna join a team?" He didn't do any of that. That didn't
He
happen.
was busy with Black Adam.
Yeah, he was busy with Black Adam there, helping that movie, well, do nothing. I mean, that movie tanked pretty bad there. Um so yeah, so I kind of appreciated that with this. And Matt Reeves has come out and spoken about what he wants his Batman movie to look like, and he says he wants kind of a more grounded tone with Batman. And they also come out with the Penguin because the Penguin is not named Oswald Cobblepot in the Penguin show. He's named just Oswald Cobb in it. And he said that he didn't want to name him Oswald Cobblepot because he felt like that was just too fantastical, and he wanted a little bit something more grounded there. And he's kind of spoken about that with other kind of Batman villains. He said that with he kind of wanted a more grounded tone with a lot of kind of characters there, people like Clayface or Mister Freeze there, and kind of get away from that. What do you guys think about that? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm a huge Batman fan, and I think there's plenty of room for these different interpretations. I mean, I'll say we did get a whole trilogy of like pretty hyper grounded Batman movies. And I'm just not even going to acknowledge the Snyder stuff here, but we've had a grounded movies before, and I think The Dark Knight. maybe not everybody agrees with this, but I think it's probably the best Batman film still overall. I don't think there's anything wrong with them doing this kind of hyper grounded take on it, although it is a little more sci-fi with like the contacts he was wearing and the big like syringe he injects himself with near the end. Um, and so it does seem like it's willing to dip its toe into the sci-fi pool a little bit, even if it's not willing to dip its toe into the fantasy pool. But I mean, I honestly I think that that probably is the choice that makes the most sense. Um, they went with that tone already in the first one. It would be maybe a little weird if all of a sudden in the sequel we're going full supernatural comic book villain with the next thing. And there's plenty of villains. There's plenty of villains from Batman's lore to do that sort of hyper grounded thing with. I mean, Mr. Freeze can be a sci-fi. Clayface can even be a sci-fi thing if you don't have him maybe morphing and shifting as much as he does in some of the stories. Maybe it's just the kind of small like face change
And he
that was
did
in like
show up in Batman Cape Crusader. We saw a
yes.
very
And that was a really grounded take on him too, as well. Like he kind of messed with the way his face looked, but he wasn't changing shape and turning his arms into mallets and stuff like in the '90s cartoon. So you know you can pull that character off, I think, in a pretty grounded setting. You know, there's the Court of Owls. I think you could pull off in a grounded. I think there's a lot of characters. I'd love to see them do the ventriloquist, who is
mm.
just someone with a split personality disorder who you know, one of those personalities comes through in his puppet, who is like this very 20s gangster mobster kind of character. Yeah, I think there's plenty of room for that, and we know that there's going to be two concurrent kind of versions of Batman, right, running kind of side by side. There'll be this for a trilogy, at least it seems like, and then you're going to get the like you know DC Universe Batman from James Gunn, which will be a different actor. It will focus more on characters like Robin and Batgirl and stuff like that. And in that Batman, you know, where he has to share screen time with these other characters more, that's where you should just go crazy and do like the super powered Batman villains. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's probably for the best to go with the grounded stuff for these because that's going to be the best way of differentiating two versions of Batman that are coming, the movies that are coming out, hopefully not too close together, but at least somewhat at the same time. That's probably the best way to make sure they don't feel too similar to each other.
And during a recent interview, Matt Reeves, who is coming back for the sequel, said that it will take place during the winter, likely Christmas or New Year's Eve, which led
Mr.
to some
Freeze,
and so speculation that Mister Freeze might be
gotta be.
introduced as the villain there. Tim, what do you think about him? The grounded approach that Matt Reeves is coming with the Batman here.
I think it's actually a really interesting perspective to go with because I feel like it is easy to get lost in the sci-fi or the fantasy of Batman because there's so many fantastical elements to it that it really does feel like this kind of city off in the middle of whoever knows where, and it just has all these random fucking people there. But taking it to a grounded approach, I feel like is something that I think has had it's been a challenge kind of with Batman. It's more difficult to kind of get the emotion of him down without him looking a little silly. There are a lot of Batman properties which do that great, but I feel like there's not a lot of TV shows Batman wise that have been able to kind of get that grounded element down, especially in like I don't know, if you're just taking kind of like a slice of life approach almost to it, kind of like really getting down in the details of somebody's life and their reasons for their actions and stuff. I feel like getting that perspective on a villain could be really interesting. So I guess ultimately it kind of comes down to the execution of could this thing work? But I think there is definitely room for it to work. So it's not necessarily, I don't think any shortcomings on it will be that the audiences weren't ready for it, or it was released at the wrong time, or they weren't interested in it. No, I think people are fine with this kind of, and they're releasing it on Max, which is full of other dramas. And I think that this is kind of leaning a bit more into that drama territory.
Mm, yeah. And that was some of the criticism with Batman Cape Crusader, which, it took a very grounded approach to things, very much pulled back. Batman didn't have all the gadgets and toys that he knows mostly has there. Even his fighting style, very much just used kind of a, boxing type fighting style there. A lot of the villains, even if you had a villain like Clayface, as we mentioned, very much he wasn't like a huge shapeshifter, which you've seen him in kind of previous adaptations before, more recent adaptations, just kind of a, disfigured guy who, face was kinda just kinda messed up there. So you kinda had that kinda going on. So it very much fits. Who was Matt Reeves, as the show was an executive producer on this, as well on this show. Yeah, I mean, I could see people's kind of complaints there with, a lot of people saying that, yeah, I kinda want a more fantastical element with Batman. Kinda having that, because if Mr. Freeze, is he gonna show up? Is he gonna be some guy, that has like liquid nitrogen, kind of just walking around with a tank in there, and that's what they're gonna do.
I mean, to be fair, I feel like Mr. Freeze is even in the most ridiculous comics, he is maybe one of the more grounded ones to begin with, just because it is like an accident, and then he's got to be cooled all the time to. So I don't know. I mean, that one to me kind of all just translates it kind of perfectly. I mean, unless you're looking at like Arnold's version of Mr. Freeze or the Adam West Mr. Freeze, then we start getting a little over the top with it. But I don't know. I mean that one. There you go.
The cool freeze well.
I mean,
What killed the dinosaurs? That is age.
you know, a guy that needs to be kept in a cold environment the entire time, and he's smoking cigars. I mean, hey, can't think. I mean, can't think of anything. Is this kind of the last Batman movie that was that super fantastical? That was kind of live action Batman and Robin.
Yeah, yeah. For live action stuff, I mean, I mean, the Nolan trilogies ended with Rises, which is a bit more over the top than the first two, but I still don't think it goes that crazy. And then, the Zack Snyder, like Ben Affleck Batman, doesn't feel very grounded at all to me. But
Yeah.
being grounded is definitely not the reason I have a problem with those movies.
Yeah. Yeah, you did have the Ben Affleck Batman. We didn't actually ever see him solo doing his own movie. We just saw him, pop up in, collaboration movies there. We did see him, fight parademons. We did see him do that. So I guess if you want
Sure.
to, count that as well. So that was a little bit more of a, I guess, a fantastical Batman, I guess, fighting those elements. Then he fought, aliens as well and all that good stuff there. Um, so, I guess if you wanna count that one. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I can see with some villains, maybe you wanna have that element of kinda like Clayface or Mr. Freeze, but you also have a lot of elements you could just do kinda more stripped back, mind more plain there. Something like, Hugo Strange there,
Yeah.
or as you mentioned, the ventriloquist, there, him, what's another kinda stripped back, Batman villain you could do?
Well, yeah, there's all the crime family stuff, which I think
Yeah.
oftentimes in movie adaptations gets skimmed over very quickly. I think we see, Carmine Falcone, um, maybe Salvatore Moroni, and then usually it kind of stops there. Those crime families spin out into a huge network of their own other characters. One in which I want to say we might be getting in live action for the first time, at least in for the first time in the movie, is Sophia Falcone in the
Oh.
Penguin series, who I know she'll have a big role, which I mean that's actually one of the things that I'm most excited about the Penguin series for. Um,
Oh, I
but
forgot to mention, Black Mask, you could do him.
yeah, Black Mask would be a really good one. I mean, we've kind of already had a Scarecrow, not too long ago, but that's all hallucinations, so you can do that pretty realistically, I think, because
Hush, Professor Pig,
Hush,
maybe you do.
Professor Peg would be another good one. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I think there's a lot of them. And like I said, I think um, you're gonna get the James Gunn Batman, right? That's part of that universe, and I think that's going to have superpowers and magic and some. I think that one will immediately go for some of the really crazy villains. Um, Uh,
Uh,
I was going to
Ulysses, he
say
wants Calendar Man. That's who he wants.
that's exactly who I was just going to say. Calendar Man would be another really, really good, like, grounded serial killer character.
You know who I want? They didn't get my you didn't name my favorite Batman villain there.
Which one is that?
Good old Condiment King. I want Condiment King in here. That's
Condiment King?
The big bad bat guy. I knew you'd be sooner or later. How I've relished this meeting. You, actual condiment king. Come, Batman. Let's see if you can cut the mustard. Quiet.
Ah man, I want to see him in the movie. When they gonna put Condiment? When is my man gonna get
When
his
are we gonna get Crazy Quilt?
crazy?
Crazy Quilt. There you go.
Yeah, from 1946. It's not too late. We could still include him.
This
I was
might sound silly, and I promise I'm being serious, but Scott Snyder, not Zack Snyder, Scott Snyder, the comic book writer, did do a legitimately really good dramatic take on the Crazy Quilt character, and I like it. It sounds ridiculous coming out of my own mouth, but I swear to God, there was actually like a really well written dramatic version of Crazy Quilt in the Scott Snyder run of Batman comics.
and was this it was this from it right here? Let me see. Let me pull up the
I
photo.
forget. Was it? It might have been Greg Capullo that did the art for that book. I'm not. I don't know if I remember the artist exactly, but yes, yeah, that is the book that's from. Yeah, yeah. Hey, I was surprised. I was as surprised as you are hearing it now when I read that. It was like actually like, oh wow, they would never have thought that you could have pulled that character off in any sort of serious way. But Scott Snyder did it.
Yeah, and I think Calendar Man. The only time I've ever seen him is he made a cameo in the Batman Arkham Asylum video game. I think there was
Yeah,
one.
he was in the. Yeah, he was in. I think you just found his empty prison cell in Arkham Asylum, and then in Arkham City, he was underneath the courthouse jail, and you could actually get different dialogue from him if your internal system, like your actual PS3 calendar, was like set to Halloween or to Christmas or to like various holidays. You could turn the game on, go down there, and he'd have different dialogue for every holiday that the game was set to.
Yeah, so this is him right here. Good old Calendar Man. Uh, Let's hear a little bit of dialogue from Cal because I don't think I ever actually interacted with Calendar Man when he was on there. So let's see what he. Yeah, let me go back.
And all that. I made sure she wouldn't forget me that day, didn't I, Batman? It was the first New Year's party I'd been invited to in a long time. But then I wasn't really invited, was I? The restraining order saw to that. Still,
Catwoman got
she and I had been
Two-Face to
close,
get her.
or so I believed. And a new year means a new start.
Mm,
I admit,
I could see that working. I could definitely see that if they do it like that. And this person's obviously they're using the Dark Knight Returns Batman suit there.
Yeah,
Got the little bat ears. Are you a fan of little bat ears or long bat ears?
I like both. I think it just depends on the stylistic sensibility of the race, kind of the rest of the story. But
Yeah. What about you, Tim? Long bat ears fan or short bat ears fan?
Depends on how much fantasy. The more fantasy we get, the more long ears I want because then he's basically just an elf.
What was the Robert Pattinson? His bat ears were kind of shortish.
I think they were on the shorter side. Not quite Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller short, but I don't think they were super long.
It's like medium length.
Yeah, medium size there.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see that. But I love what Matt Reeves did with the Batman. Are you guys big fans of the Batman? Where would you kind of
I liked it a lot.
rank him at? Like,
Of that particular movie, I'd probably give it a peak. I did feel the pacing just a little bit at times in that movie, and my one big criticism, because I mostly loved it, but my one big criticism is I honestly didn't think that they gave the Riddler enough time to be as impactful as I think Paul Dano could be as that character. I think he was a little underutilized.
mm,
But I still liked the performance. I still liked him as the character. Um, I just wish that he had been given a bit more time to kind of fully feel the presence of it on screen for me.
What about for you, Tim?
I I would say I could still give it peak, but just a little bit lower, just because I couldn't shake the feeling that like it was missing a scene just somewhere to like yeah, because I feel like the Riddler is somebody that could have gotten a little bit more screen time, just like something to kind of give us a bit more attachment to the character other than that's the Riddler. You're supposed to care about him. He's from the comics, which isn't the vibe I totally got, but I don't know. I feel like there was maybe a scene that was on the cutting room floor and it just didn't make the cut, but with context of like a director's cut or even just the deleted scenes on a DVD, it becomes a lot better. But I still thought it was pretty good overall.
How disappointed would you be if in the Batman 2 they do the Joker?
Very.
I'm not saying I'll throw myself down a flight of stairs, but it'll be way more tempting if that becomes the reality.
Yeah.
Like I like Joker. I mean, I think he's a great villain. He's iconic. He's a great character. But we get so much of him, so many versions of him, and a bunch of great versions of him. And I think especially in the movies, it's just so rare that we get. I mean, even just look at what we've had so far. Even doing the Riddler again in the first movie, we have gotten two other major live action Riddlers before. Nothing beats Frank Gorshin still. That's in my opinion. But um, there's so many characters that we listed quite a few of them just now that haven't been done in a movie at all. Let's get some of these other characters in here.
Yeah.
And I am familiar with this. Hush would be great too. And this deleted scene with Joker from the movie, I really liked, and I actually wouldn't have minded if this had been left in the movie, but on the caveat that Joker is relegated to these kinds of appearances throughout this trilogy. If each movie had like one scene with the Joker somewhere in each movie that treated him kind of like Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, where it was more about probing him for knowledge and kind of playing with their dynamic in that sort of smaller, more intimate setting. I think that could really work if you feel like you have to have Joker. Because like I get the temptation, right? I totally understand the temptation to have him around. So that could be kind of a way of having your cake and eating it too. So like you could still do him, but he doesn't take things over. I'd be okay with that, but that is like the maximum amount of Joker I want to see in these movies.
Yeah. Because then at the end of the Batman, I think it he's him breaking out, right? Or no, he was in this next to the same cell as the Riddler. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Uh,
they start laughing together in the two cells next to each other. And I mean, I get you could do something with it. Yeah, I'm apprehensive at the idea of Joker coming in and taking over another story. And it doesn't mean they couldn't do a great job with him. I mean, I think there's a reason we've had so many versions of Joker is because he is a versatile character that you can do a lot of interpretations of. Um, but there's a lot of other stuff. There's a lot of other stuff. I there's just so many other things you could do.
yeah. Well, yeah. So that's discussing Batman 2, and the future of it. Yeah, I think the Batman 2 is supposedly. I think they finished the script and it's supposed to be starting production next year and then release 2026. I think it's the
Okay,
there. I believe so. They're gonna start
good.
that.
Take your time.
And he says he wants to do a trilogy, so he doesn't want to do a third movie there. And that. All right. So let's get out of here. Thank you, Sage. Thank you, Tim. One more time. Where can people find you? What you got going on? What you got coming up next?
All right, you can find me and Tim both over at Rated M for Immaturity over on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all under that exact same name. We got a couple of shows each week. Tuesdays, 2 p.m. at Central Standard Time. Right now, we're working through Signalis, a nice indie horror title. We're kind of kickstarting our Halloween streams a little early. We're going to do them for like 2 months instead of just one this year. So horror games every Tuesday from now all the way to the end of October. Well, we're also going to be playing Silent Hill 2 remake when it comes out early next month. The second Alan Wake DLC whenever that drops, also sometime next month. Me and Tim do a show every Saturday, 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. We try and stick to difficult games. Right now, we're working on Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, Chinese mythology game inspired by Romance of the Three Kingdoms. And Tim, tell them about your show.
Uh, this coming Thursday, 7:30. Normally, we have a Friday 7:30 show where me and No Name, the other co-host or another co-host on the channel, get together and we sometimes have Sage and chat. But we typically do a bit more laid back, go over some video game news for the week, talk about what we've been watching, try to engage the chat a bit more, and see what folks have been watching, how they're feeling about the current state of cinema and video games otherwise. We've been currently plugging away through Baldur's Gate 3, and we have no shortage of jokes about the bear fucking that was demonstrated in the trailer, the last trailer to release before launch. So, yeah, come join us for once we get to that scene, because it's coming up, and you're going to want to be there.
Very nice. Yeah. And follow these guys on Twitch and YouTube, rated M for immature. Just type that in and you would find them. And then I'll put the descriptions, put their links in the descriptions below. And with us, you can follow us on all the social medias: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky, all the afternoon tune. Just type it in and be able to find us. If you want to send us an email, you can do so at theafternoontune@gmail.com with any of your questions, comments, concerns. We also where you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you see on some of those platforms, usually the 5-star review helps boost the podcast and does a lot for us there. YouTube.com, the afternoon tune there. Subscribe to us, usually talking about reviews, discussions, news, all that good stuff there. Try to get 2K subs by the end of the year. It'd be awesome if we could do that. Also, twitch.tv/afternoon. Usually streaming every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, sometimes Wednesday, or typically 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Got a stream upcoming this Wednesday. If Sage can join me, Terminator at 1984, doing a review for that. And if Dust can come on, he wants to do a review for a couple movies there, Reagan, and he wants to do a review for I Am Racist. There, he wants to do a review for that. Friday, Nick, he's going to be joining me, my other co-host. We're going to be doing Transformers 1. We're going to be doing The Killer's Game and hopefully The Substance. Going to be doing a review for those movies there. I'm going to be sending everybody over to Gina Darling. I think she's going to be ended up playing Alan Wake 2. I think she's working her way through that right now. So I'm going to send you all over to her. Thank you, listeners, for showing up. Very much appreciated there. Thank you again to these guys for showing up here, as always, helping me
Happy
out
to be
with
here.
reviews, giving their thoughts on Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, and Dandadon there. Very, very nice. Good stuff there. All right, everybody, stay tuned. Peace.
Awesome.